In 2021, Jakar, my friend Debbie's son, was tragically killed in a drive-by shooting. Days later, Debbie texted me a photo of her and her son and asked if I could create a collage. Of course, I replied, but then I asked, what if we did it together with the whole family? Hours later, Debbie, her 3 kids, and I sat around a table, Jakar's photo in the middle where we could all see it. A large sheet of paper, stacks of magazines, scissors, glue, and chalk surrounded us. I encouraged them to think about Jakar, to calm their hearts, and once their energies settled, I invited them to begin flipping through the magazines. And when an image or a color or a design resonated with them for whatever reason, to pull it out. Images began piling up next to each of them, and we transitioned to cutting, transforming rectangular magazine pages into intricately cut shapes. They began laying those images on the page and sharing why they chose those images. And while moving some from here to there, they talked about why one needed to be here and not there. Mostly, I observed, at times offering insights and questions. Through this whole process, their emotions and mine too swung wide and dug deep. Finally, they had it. Jakar's story had emerged, and it was time to glue it down. They layered images over and under one another, some set alone, each image exactly where it was meant to be. Then, we added the chalk, the color, that emotion that you can't cut out of a magazine. It was complete. We stepped back from the image and they began to share their thoughts. This was hard, but it felt so good. It's sad, but not as painful. And they all agreed how much they love the way it describes Jakar in such a beautiful light. Through this collective experience, they created an image that tells a beautiful story that so needed to be shared. His story, their story, Jakar's story. Creativity is a language that moves us beyond words. As you take a look at this picture, what strikes you first? What image are you drawn to? What do these colors make you feel? If you were to add sound or movement alongside this image, what would you hear and how would you move? You have just tapped into your creative language, a path into your deeper self, allowing you to access your story, your truth, your voice. It is your subconscious becoming evident through color, image, design, sound, and movement. Creativity is a language that moves us beyond words. My name is Ginger. I have an undergraduate degree in architecture, a master's in teaching visual art, and I founded Roots and Wings School of Art and Design in 2009. I'm not a therapist, a counselor, or a psychologist. What I am is a visual translator who guides people in building bridges between their innermost world, their subconscious, their emotions, to something visible and evident in their outer world. What I have witnessed over and over is that when given time and space to connect within, through the tools of collage and color, people rediscover and reignite and reconnect with their creative language. They find ways to have deep and meaningful conversations beyond words, which allows them to begin to see themselves, others, and the world in new ways. When I was working with Debbie's family, I walked them through my Create and Connect process as a structure for discovery. They closed their eyes and listened within. That listening led to an awakening to what the images found them. They transformed those images into just what needed to be seen. which then translated what needed to be said. And finally, they added the magic. That emotion that you can't cut out of a magazine as a final layer of color. Invariably, no matter who I am working with, age, group size, environment, structure, subject, people often walk up to me and ask, "Can I show you what I did?" In one instance, a man named Paul said he found this image of a river. He said it reminded me I needed to focus on the flow of the pathway ahead, to let go and be open to what is coming. I would have never heard that if we hadn't listened today. And another woman, Sarah, she came up and in a somber voice shared her work and said, "This somehow reminded me of an argument I had with a family member over 25 years ago. But in discovering these images and surrounding them with these colors, I unlocked memories and emotions I did not have access to. I get it now." Research supports these experiences that people describe. In a study published in Cambridge University Press, they found that creating collages can help people who have a harder time verbalizing their feelings share a glimpse of their inner world through the images. There is power in the use of image and color. Some of my participants get insights. Others are surprised. Most let out a huge exhale. Some cry. Others laugh. Many know in their gut there is something to be said, and now it is visible. Truths are revealed. In her most recent book, Atlas of the Heart, Brené Brown shares how language is our portal to meaning-making, connection, healing, learning, and self-awareness. Having access to the right words can open entire universes. But, she goes on, when we do not have the language to talk about what we are experiencing, our ability to make sense of what is happening and share that with others is severely limited. Now, for some of us, at certain times, for whatever reason, our language of words is simply not available. Not accessible, not coherent, not enough. Maybe your subconscious is still processing. Maybe you have a feeling, but just no words. Or maybe you're wrapped up in so much anger, nothing will suffice. Whatever it is, listen to it. And I want to encourage you to let your words rest and instead listen by allowing image and color to be the portal to your internal universe. You see, once we allow access within, not only are we more self-aware, but that self-awareness is key to building bridges to others. It's 2019. I walk into Miss Williams' class, Socially Just Education at Asheville High. There are about 30 students, some on their phones, some on their computers, others chatting in the corner. No one's looking up. It is an interesting class that all semester long has been having conversations about equity in their school and community. This is a challenging subject that often leads people to their default language, defending their stances, talking in circles, starting arguments with the deep division of opinion, putting an end to any type of healthy discussion. I was asked to lead the students in my Create and Connect process around this very subject of equity, to offer them a different way to have these conversations. Once I explained the process to them, suddenly the energy shifts. The students realize they have a new set of tools to share their voice, that it's not just about their words. They can use image and color to share deep connection and emotion around this very difficult subject. There is a rush to grab the materials and get started. You can hear the buzz of magazine pages flipping, papers ripping, and scissors cutting. The room is transformed. While the students are working, they would walk up to me and say things like, "Can I show you my images and talk about my composition? This is the story I want to tell." Or, "Can I really use any color I'm feeling for the chalk?" But here's the equally important step that unfolded. While they were working, students would slide up next to a friend and start sharing the stories that their images were telling. They would wander by someone's desk and begin discussing their composition ideas. They'd be circled up around an entire set of desks, talking about what color chalk they were going to use and why. What does all of this mean? It means that we can create opportunities to have conversations in non-threatening, accessible ways, which allows us to see one another's truths, stories, and voices, which opens possibilities for understanding and collaboration around very divisive subjects. This image was taken at the border of the United States and Mexico. It is a large group of people sharing a meal right along the wall between our two countries. French artist J.R. uses large-scale images to encourage people to rethink, to re-examine and reconnect with one another. At this community meal, at this one table shared by Mexicans on one side and Americans on the other, this image inspired physical barriers to disappear and true connections to prevail. Imagine what is possible if we listened and accessed our most inner universe by allowing images and color to speak for us. There is no talking at each other or yelling over one another. Instead, there's the thread of a new language, a new way of seeing that connects us all. Creativity is a language that can help us have deep and meaningful conversations without even saying a word. Conversations of joy and celebration, sadness and loss, deep introspection, or even as a way of being more fully seen in an age of such isolation and divisiveness. Today, I want to inspire you to be open to the telling of your story, to the listening to the stories of others, to seeking new ways to connect with people by harnessing your creative language and seeing the world beyond words.